Yes, everyone, switch on your videos. Come on quickly. Okay, so did you people have any difficulty in the chapter up until the point we have done?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay. All right, so let us do a quick revision as to what we have studied up till now. So we have started the chapter tissues, and we know that every single living organism is made up of the cell, but mostly what happens is that when the organism becomes bigger or contains more cell in its body, meaning from unicellularity, when multicellularity is there, then what happens? The organism needs more and more cells to come together and work together. Now, all the living organisms are made up of cells, as the cell is the basic unit of life. Depending upon the number of cells in their body, the organism can be unicellular or they can be multicellular. Now, in the case of unicellular organism, one or a single cell is capable of performing several functions such as diffusion, digestion, osmosis, excretion, and most of maximum of the processes of the cell is actually performed by that one single cell only. Now, as from the unicellular, the organisms move towards the multicellularity. So there comes the division of labor. And by division of labor, we know that every single cell now becomes responsible for whatever function it is supposed to perform. Now, in this case, there are groups of cells responsible for performing different functions. Example, in animals, the muscle cells are responsible for causing movements. The nerve cells are responsible for conducting or carrying the signals. Same way, the blood is responsible for the transportation of gases. And this is how we are seeing that different, you can say, cells in the organism's body, or mostly different cells in the animal's body, are performing different kind of functions, right? Same thing happens in the plants also. Plants also have division of labor in them, such as particular vascular tissues are present in their body for conduction of water and food. Now, these cells, when they come together, they form a group, and the group of cell is called as the tissue, such as blood, muscle, epithelium. Now, when many tissues come together, they form the organ, such as the eye, the lungs, the different organs that are there in our body. And then again, when multiple organs come together, they form the organ system, such as these many systems that we have in our body. Muscular system, reproductive system, excretory system is there, digestive, breathing, circulatory, nervous. So up until now, does anyone have any doubts in this whole entire thing that we had discussed?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, the plants and animals are very different from each other. There are so many differences in between them. So today we're going to talk about the differences that are there between plant and animal tissues. Now, to begin with, talking about the plant tissues, we know that plants are they cannot move. They are not motile. They are non-motile. They're not capable of locomotion. So because of that, the maximum tissues that are present in the plant, it will be the tissue that is responsible for keeping the plant straight, keeping the plant standing. But in the case of animal tissue, since animals are not stationary, meaning they can move from one place to another, so their tissues are the ones that can support the movement. Comparing it with the plants have the tissues that support the standing in one position, so they can stand erect. What is the meaning of erect, students?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
straight.
Yes, straight, upright. Very good. Yes. So in the case of plants, since they do not locomote, so the tissues in them are specialized in the way that they do not have to move or support the movement. Rather, they have to keep the plant straight or erect. In the case of animals, this like the tissues that are there, they're responsible for helping in the movement aspect. Clear? Now see, in the animal tissues, there is no cell that is dead. Okay, dead cells are useless to animals. But in the case of plants, dead cells are there. Dead cells are actually useful to plants. Why? Because the dead cells, they help in the mechanical support, or they provide the mechanical strength to the plant. So it is different for both of them. Now, in the plant tissues, now have you seen like plants reaching the highest of the heights? Have you seen like plants growing so tall they become trees, and then there are some trees that are really really tall that it's not even possible to look at the top of it, right? But when we
Yes,
talk
ma'am.
about animals are not that tall, animals are not that long. So it means that the division or the growth in the plants is limited, not limited, and in the case of animals it is very limited. So the tissues are accordingly, meaning the plant tissues have the property of unlimited growth, whereas in the case of animals, it is not. Yes, Arhan, are you saying something?
No,
Okay, okay. All right. And lastly, the plant tissues, they're not very specialized. Like animals have specific tissues in their body, very specific, meaning one specific tissue for each of the functions they have to perform. That's not the case with plants. So whatever I've said up until now, you people like understood it, what I've said? Is there any doubt? Does anyone have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now we'll write it in a column form. So the first point under the plant tissues, we can write that plants do not move, so their tissues are the ones that provide. So we know that the plants cannot move, so the tissues in the case of plants, they provide support so that plants can stay erect. Plants can stay erect, and erect means upright. Now, in the case of animals, we cannot say the same thing because animals can move, right? So, animals are not stationary. Stationary means
static.
exactly. So, their tissues support movement, meaning they have those kind of tissues in their body that will help them to actually move. So, this is the first major difference. Now, the second thing is that uh, these tissues, the supporting tissues, we can mention that the supporting tissues always remember this, like any tissue in the case of plant that will be helping in the support. For example, if you have seen the trunk of the tree, you might have felt that it is so sturdy. You cannot just push it around and it will fall, isn't it? It's really sturdy and it helps the tree to stay very tall and straight. So the supporting tissues, why they are so sturdy is because the supporting tissues are made up of dead cells. Now, the dead cells in the case of animals are actually dead cells, meaning they cannot perform any function. But the dead cells in the case of plants, they have a function to perform. So made up of the dead cells. As they provide mechanical strength. Now, in the case of animals, there are no dead tissues present, as I told you. So the tissues in animals, are living tissues. or made up of living cells. Okay, students, like there was a test. Why did only 2 students attempt the test here? Why the rest of you did not take the test? Hmm?
Ma'am, the biology test.
Yes, the biology test. Like your paper was there, Arhan, and Arham, your paper was there. Rest, no one's paper was there. Why? No one take the test?
Miss, the one yesterday?
Yes, I think so.
Miss, I attempted it.
You did? Okay. And anyone else who gave the test? Bharti, could you tell me just one of the topics or the question that was there in your paper? Any one of the questions, like was cell theory, who proposed it, difference between prokaryotes, eukaryotes, all these questions were there? Okay,
Yes,
then
ma'am.
I might have not gotten your note, like answer sheet yet. Okay, apart from Bharti, how many of you did attempt the test?
I did, ma'am.
Okay, Sat, it's all right. Yes, who did not attempt the test? Sarah, what about you? You're smiling. I can see that. Tell me. Say, why did you not, like, I'm genuinely asking. I want to know that why did you people not take the test? Were you nervous? Or you didn't want it to? The question is to everyone who did not attempt the test. Samia, what about you? Hmm? Give me an answer. It's okay. It can be anything. Say something. No answer. We just didn't give. We didn't want it to. Hmm? See, the reason why the tests are like taken here, so that, you know, whatever I've taught you people, you can test how you are like actually learning the topic. Have you retained it? And like, why did you not do it? I don't understand that. Like, you do not have to be scared about it. See, I am the one who checks the paper. I am the one who sets the paper also. So I wanted to see like how you people perform. Like after I've taught to you, my job is done. Now it's your job, right? To show me how much you've learned. So that is what I wanted to see. And Arham and Arhan, your names are very confusing, but your marks are really good. You people write very nicely in the test. I feel very nice when I look at your copies. It's just that one thing I've noticed in both of yours paper is that you people do not give a descriptive answer. As I've already told you, that if the question asks you, what is this? So you start with that thing that they ask. For example, what is cell? So don't write it is the basic unit of life. No, right? Cell is the basic unit of life. Because as I told you in the exam, answer your questions as if the teacher does not know anything, as if you are teaching me. Okay. And students, please take the test. It's like the tests that I said are very easy. And they're like everything from what I teach you. Okay. So all those who have given the test, very good. You've scored good marks also. And all those that have not given the test, from next time, please do. Okay. Was there any specific reason that you did not know the test was there, or you got scared, or you didn't want it? Like any of the reasons would be there, right? Give me one reason. I just genuinely want to know. You were not prepared. That could also be a very reason, like not good reason, but it could be a reason. How many of you were not prepared? So you were prepared also. Then also you did not take the test. Why? What happened? Why aren't you answering? Sarah, unmute, speak.
Mama, I didn't know there was a test.
You did not know there was a test.
No.
Okay, okay. Yeah, this may be a reason for many of you, but like how do you people get informed? Like, do you get a message of that test is upcoming or something? You
Yes,
get a
ma'am.
message?
There was no
You
message.
okay? You did not get the message. Okay. What about you, Sarah? Hmm? You answer the most in the class. Then what happens in the test?
Ma'am, I wasn't aware that there was.
Hmm?
Ma'am, I wasn't aware of the test.
You weren't prepared. It's okay. It's fine. I can understand that sometimes we are not prepared for a test. It's okay. But see, students, I'm telling you, even if you're not prepared, genuinely saying this, even if you feel like you're not prepared, see, I know that you are prepared. Why? Because I teach you. Because I know that in the class, all of you pay attention. Even though some of you don't answer anything, but I know that you pay attention. And with that retained stuff, even if you give the test, you'll get good marks. I feel like that. So even if you're not prepared, this is for everyone. Even if you're prepared or even if you're not prepared, take the test. Because it's going to enhance your, like, the more tests that you take, the better your answering ability becomes. Okay. All right. So now the tissues in animals are very specialized. They're extremely specific and specialized. So are all these points clear to everyone? It's basically, I've written whatever
Yes.
I've said. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am. No.
Sure? Clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now you people can note it down.
Ma'am, are the animal tissues more complex than the plant tissues?
Yes, 100%. Very complex. As compared to the plant tissues, animal tissues are very complex. And since they are very complex, they are highly specialized, meaning they perform very specific work.
Miss, can you scroll down?
Everyone's done?
No.
You're writing, Arhan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Tell me once you're done. Tell me once everyone is done. I'll scroll down.
Don't know.
No.
Don't know.
I'm done.
Everyone's done?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So up until now, we had discussed about the differences that are there between the animal tissues and the plant tissues. Now we're going to start and dive into the plant tissues. Now we're going to learn more about what plant tissues and what are the different kind of plant tissues. So our next heading is plant tissues. Now, remember that just like how in the case of animals, same goes for plants, the tissues that are there in their body, they are, you can say, according to the function, not very specific, but they are according to the function. Now see, in the case of plants, what happens is that plants have two major kinds of tissues. One type of tissue is there in the body which divides all their life. Okay, they keep on dividing and dividing and dividing. Then there is another type of tissue that does not divide all through the life. It divides and then it stops dividing. So there are these two major, you can say, kinds of tissues, the ones that divide throughout their life. They are further of three types, depending upon the position. And the tissues
Yes, ma'am.
that has lost the ability to divide, now they are further of two types. So we're going to see each of those. So we'll make a chart for us so that we can remember each of them. So plant tissues can be divided into two types. Now, the
Meristematic
tissue,
and permanent.
yes,
Meristematic and permanent tissues.
correct. The first kind of tissue or plant tissue is meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue. Now, these meristematic tissue, why they are so special is because they divide throughout the plant's life, throughout life. So they keep on dividing and dividing. Now, talking about the next type of tissue, that is the permanent tissue. These are known as the permanent tissues. Now, these are the ones that lost the ability to divide. Now, they cannot divide anymore. They have lost the ability to divide. Now, when we talk about the first type, that is the meristematic tissue, the meristematic tissue, as I told you, is further of 3 types depending upon the position that it is present in, right? So, this can further be divided into 3 types. The first one is apical meristem. Apical, then there is intercalary, and then there is lateral. So apical, intercalary, and lateral. These are, and what is the basis of dividing them, students? They are divided on the basis of meristematic tissue is divided into 3 types on the basis of what? What did I say?
Position.
Position. See, we'll write not just the word, we'll write apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. Now, they are divided depending on the basis of position, meaning where these tissues are present. If you look at the word apical, what do you understand by apical, students? Does anyone know the meaning of apex? What is the meaning of apex?
Ma'am, a tip.
Tip, exactly. Apex means the tip part or the apical. Apical itself, for example, if I'm drawing this thing. So this part that you're seeing right at the tip, or for example, the tip of my finger is here, right? Same way the plants have tips in their body, and the tissues that are present on the tip area of the plants, these are the apical tissue. The apical tissue represents the position of the apex. Now, talking about the next, that is the permanent tissue. Now, this permanent tissue can be divided into 2 types. We have simple permanent tissue, and then we have complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent and complex permanent. Now, they are simple and complex depending upon the types of cells that are there. Okay, but we will discuss it when we will come to it. Now, see, talking about the simple permanent tissue, they are further divided into 3 types. Okay, the first is parenchyma. Second is collenchyma. And third is sclerenchyma. These are the different types of simple permanent tissues. Now, the complex permanent tissue is just divided into 2 types. We have xylem and we have phloem. Students, do you know what is the function of xylem and phloem?
Xylem stores water and phloem stores food.
No, not storage. It does not
Ma'am,
store. It
transportation.
transports. Yes.
Transport.
Yes, exactly. The xylem is responsible for the transportation of water and minerals from the soil to the different parts of the plant, whereas the phloem is responsible for the transportation of food in the plant's body. But we'll come to it. So now you can note this chart down and just try to memorize this. Once you memorize this, you'll totally understand to which group does the particular type of tissue belongs. Okay, now you can note this down.
Mhm.
Everyone's done? Okay. Now, let's dive more into meristematic tissue, what they are, what they do, and everything. See, meristematic tissues, they are placed or they are present in those areas of the plants that have the ability to divide. Now, this division ability is not present everywhere in the plant. It is present only in certain specific regions. Now, all those areas that have those regions wherein the cells would divide continuously, so there the cells become compactly arranged, they form a tissue, and then that tissue is known as the meristematic tissues. Now see, they have their ability to divide and they can divide on their own. Like they do not need any, you can say, signal or anything. They can divide themselves, and when they divide, they form new tissues for the plants. Okay. Now, all of these cells, they have a thin cell wall, because we know that the plant cells, they have the cell wall and the animal cells do not. So now the meristematic tissues, they have the cell wall present. And what is that cell wall made up of? So it is made up of cellulose. Okay, that one component because of which the plant cell wall is made. Now, apart from having a very thin cell wall, the meristematic tissue, they have a property of having dense cytoplasm, they have dense nucleus, but they do not have vacuoles. Why do you think so, student? Like they have everything that the cell requires, but they do not have vacuoles. Why?
Ma'am, since these cells are not like helping in the photosynthesis,
What role does vacuole have to play in photosynthesis?
ma'am, storage of food.
Storage, right? So since not actually photosynthesis is not our main concern over here, our main concern over here is the storage purpose. Since these tissues are continuously dividing, they do not have time to store anything. They have time to divide and form new tissues. So that is why they have a very dense cytoplasm, they have a very dense nucleus, but they do not have the vacuoles because they do not have any storage need. They are responsible for the division aspect. Now, like I said, on the basis of the position, the meristematic tissues can be of three types. The first one is apical meristem. The second one is intercalary meristem, and then there is the lateral meristem. Now, talking about the apical meristem, so the apical meristem is present at the apex. Now, as I told you, apex means the tip. Now, tip of what? So they are mostly present at the tip of the roots and the tip of the stems. And why? Because once the tip of the root, like let's just imagine that roots are dividing. So they'll divide towards the ground, right? So that more and more water can be absorbed and the stem will grow against the ground upwards, like on the ground. So one apical meristem is responsible for the growth of the plant's, you can say, length in upwards the ground, and one of the apical meristem is responsible for the growth below the ground. So that is why these are the ones that are present with the apical meristem. They are present at the tip of the root and they are present at the tip of the shoot. And they are responsible for the growth of root and shoot. Any doubts up until now?
No,
Okay. All right. How many of you know what is the meaning of node in plants? What is the meaning of nodes?
ma'am, nodules or small openings.
Hmm?
Ma'am, nodules.
Not nodules. Here, nodes are something else in the case of plants. Does anyone know about it? See, node is
Thing that
that.
attaches the petiole.
Yes, yes. Say.
The thing that attaches the petiole to the stem.
See, not actually attaches it, but node is the point from where the branches, or you can say the leaves, arise. The leaves of the plants, they arise from the node area. So now there are multiple nodes present in the plant body, and in between two nodes there is the presence of internode. The region between two nodes is internode. So that internode area, or the meristem which is present at the internode, is known as the intercalary meristem. Clear? And it is also responsible for the growth of the plants in, you can say, the circumference and and length also. Clear? So this is where the intercalary meristem is present. Now talking about the lateral meristem. Now the name only suggests lateral. Lateral means side. So the meristems that are present on the lateral position or at the side part, what does it do? It is responsible for the, apical and intercalary meristem. They're responsible for the growth of the plant in the terms of length. But the lateral meristem is responsible for the growth of plant in terms of thickness. Good. So these lateral meristems are present at the lateral sides or the sides of the plant, and they are responsible for increase in the girth of the plant. And girth means thickness. Any doubts up until now, students? This whole thing is clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one second. This is the picture of the different positions of where the meristems are present. Now see, this is the tip area. So the type of meristem which is present here is the apical meristem. Then see, do you see these points from where these branches are coming out? These branches or these points from where the branches they arise, or from where the leaves arise, these points are known as nodes. Now, the intercalary meristem, it is present at the internodes, the region between two nodes. And what are they responsible for? They are responsible for the elongation of the stem. Now, as I said, that lateral in terms of biological position is the side position. So the lateral meristem is present at the side here. And what they are responsible for? They are responsible for the growth in terms of girth. Girth means thickness. So are all these things clear to you, students? Okay, another thing, let us look at the positions in biology and what do they mean.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There are certain positions that we must know. Dorsal, ventral, apical, and lateral. Dorsal means the back. The back position is the dorsal position. Ventral means the front side. Apical means the tip or apex. And lateral means the side. Okay, so these positions will be used like up until you reach class 12th and even after that also. So always remember this. Now you people can draw this diagram in your book and you can write figure locations of meristematic tissue. Whenever you are drawing anything, if you're drawing it in your notebook or if you're drawing it for the test, always mention what you have drawn. Always label it and always mention what you have drawn. Like write FIG and then you write whatever you have drawn so that the teacher will understand that what you have drawn there. So now you can write about draw this thing in your notebooks and write the positions also so that you can remember forever. Positions in bio. This will help you always. This is some extra knowledge that you people are gaining. Everyone can draw this and see, just like how they have highlighted the points where the meristem is present, you can also use to highlight it so that you'll understand it better. Okay, so draw it very nice.
Done, ma'am.
Everyone's done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students, do you have any doubts up until now? Okay,
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
all right, very good. Now let's do a quick revision of what we have studied today. Talking about the differences between plants and animals, we know that plants and animal tissues are extremely different from each other. Plants tissues do not move, so their plants do not move, so their tissues are the ones that provide support so that the plants can stay erect or upright. Animals are not stationary, so their tissue supports the movement that they perform. The supporting tissues are made up of dead cells as they provide mechanical strength. The tissues in animals are living tissues. Plant tissues are not very specialized as compared to the animal tissues. The animals tissues there are very specialized. Talking about the plant tissues, so it can be divided into two types depending upon the division or their ability to divide. Okay, so we can write that depending upon their ability to divide. You should know what is the basis of our division. Now, there can be meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Now, meristematic tissues are those tissues that divide throughout the life, and permanent tissues are the ones that have lost the ability to divide. Depending upon the basis of position, the meristematic tissue is apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. The permanent tissue can be divided into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. The simple permanent tissue is of three types, that is parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. The complex permanent tissue is of two types, that is xylem and phloem. Then we have seen the picture or the figure of the location